Welcome everybody to another cycling video here on the channel. It's been a while, and today I want to show you a ride that we've done with a new group just recently, just around the weekend. You currently see us descending after one of the major climbs on the ride. At the bottom right you have an elevation profile. And yeah, we're gonna go a little bit about what happened during the ride, just in general. Also want to introduce you a bit to Spain, to Valencia and the area here. At this point, as I said, we were descending, and I think this is where I actually start to go past Pepe, who's right in front of me here, trying to catch up with the people in front of me, so trying to put in a little bit of an effort at this point. And yeah, you could just see the guys in the distance. I'm trying to catch up with them just to be able to slipstream a little bit with the front group. But this was a ride with a group that I actually didn't know. So Pepe and Jose, the three of us, we were actually joining them because the group that we normally ride with on Saturdays, it's a group that is 60 riders strong usually, they did do some kind of special ride and would finish at 5 o'clock in the evening. We didn't really want to spend the entire day on the bike, so instead we joined these guys. This is a group that Jose and Pepe rode with before they joined Quad, which is the usual group that we go out with on Saturdays. But interestingly enough, these guys had a pretty long route planned and a pretty tough one too, and I had absolutely no idea. So the entire time I was expecting maybe 100 kilometers to be ridden that day, but we ended up with 175. So that brings me also to the distance that you see at the top left. That's unfortunately a little bit wrong. I'm not quite sure why. I have to tinker with the gauges still a little bit. This is also kind of a test video for me to just see if everything works. But the distance is definitely not recorded correctly, and I have to make some adjustments with the way that I use currently my data and the video footage from the GoPro in order to adjust that for the future. Everything else should kind of work properly though. The grade sometimes is a little bit slow to react to what's happening, as you will see later on when we jump into climbs. But it was a pretty fun ride, and also a pretty fast one too. I mean, at this point I'm pretty much catching up with the guys down here, as you can see. And the interesting part is that everybody got stuck behind that car that was transporting some boats around the area. So that was already a fun one. And we actually see that later again. I don't know if you can see it on the video, but yeah, it was pretty cool to just like try and catch up with everybody here. So, joining the ride, I didn't really know anybody except for the two guys that I usually ride with, as I said before. But for me, this was definitely one of those moments where it became quite important to kind of get a bit of an idea how strong everybody is. And talking about the group, I mean, I also want to introduce the guys just a little bit. So shortly after that we made a stop, and this is usually the halfway stop. We were 90 kilometers in. To the left, that's Jose. The one on the left right now is Pepe. And these guys to the right are all people that until then I actually didn't know. But there were some amazing riders amongst them. Yeah, but the two in red that you can just see right now, those are two of the guys I usually ride with on a regular basis. And especially Jose all the way on the left here is pretty strong. So there's exactly that problem that I talked about with the distance. You see that it shows 60 kilometers, but at this point we were roughly 95 in. So there's a 30 kilometer discrepancy between the two. I'm not quite sure where it came from. But yeah, we're going straight into the climb or the next climb after we had our short break there. And the breaks in those rides in Spain are always awesome. I mean, you get bocadillo, a good sandwich, you get a couple of drinks in, and also cremallera, Valenciano specialty. This was starting to get a little bit tough. Now, I've ridden part of that route actually, but the other way around, and I've never ridden it this way around. And as you can see with the grade, it's going to jump up in just a few seconds. This is becoming pretty gruesome. Now, this is like more of a bit of a mountain path. It's not quite a mountain bike experience just yet, but there was a lot of gravel on the road too. That eases up a little bit later and gets better there. But at this point we already had a couple of climbs behind us, and I was starting to get a bit more familiar with the other people that were riding there. And the interesting part was that one of the guys that was challenging me the most on the climbs was actually not even someone from Spain. It was a French rider, and the guy, I'm going to talk about him later. His name is Francois, and he is insanely strong. And, well, right now the grade starts to really pop up. As you can see, everybody is starting to suffer here. And we have to also put some watts down in order to make it up there. This was still a little bit slow because everybody just ate, so everybody was just like a little more quiet, you know. Nobody was really racing that just yet, but you can imagine that in a few minutes, in 1 or 2, this is gonna become really different, because once you're on a climb, everybody at some point just wants to make sure that he goes up a little bit faster. Yeah, that's from 20% grade, we go up to 14 here again. And this is the moment where I actually want to go past. On the right you see Pepe again. These two blocked me in for just a moment. I couldn't get past them, and I really wanted to just find a rhythm. And you can see in the distance already that we have two riders there, and one of them is Francois. And the interesting thing about Francois is that guy is 62 years old, and he is a fucking monster. It is absolutely insane. I had more than one battle on that day with Francois on the climbs, and apparently he's been riding now for 42 years, ever since he was it 42? I can't even remember, honestly, but like for ages that guy has been riding, longer than I'm on this planet, and you can definitely tell he's incredibly strong, and he was just bullying people around on every climb all day, every day. It was kind of crazy. And he's up there together with, I think that's Oscar, also someone that I didn't know before, but with whom I rode quite a few of the descents then later on. And especially the trio between Francois, Oscar and me, we kind of ended up at the front of every single climb, just battling it out there a little bit. And at this point I was getting a bit more ambitious. I was saying like, okay, this climb is definitely mine. I won the bigger one before that you can see on the elevation profile on the left. I took that, but just barely in the sprint towards the end. But again, Francois in particular, he just murdered everyone on these climbs. And you can tell how everybody goes from the left to the right now, because it's just so steep in some points. The grade here currently still says 13, but it definitely topped out on way more than that. So grade is still a little bit slow to react to this. But yeah, so all the way up the top, I think that was actually Francois. Yeah, he's all the way up at the front here on the white bike. And towards the end, this was the moment when I just said, alright, I need to get him right now. That guy is much older than me. I can't let him beat me here. So at this one, I actually got him. But yeah, it was absolutely amazing. It was really impressive to me. If I'm half as fit as that guy when I'm his age, then boy, I would be a happy panda for sure. But yeah, so right now, this is still that mountain area where we were. And it was absolutely amazing, as you can see here. There's zero traffic, there's absolutely nothing. I think we encountered like 2 cyclists later on, but you could just ride this the entire day. It was absolutely beautiful. And it was one climb after another in the descent. And if you actually watch the video as a short clip that the highlight that I uploaded the other day, then you know what's coming right now. That was pretty special, because we actually saw one goat earlier in the day, and I was trying to catch it on the GoPro, but couldn't. And then we ran, 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, into this scenario here, where there were just a massive amount of goats as we were barreling down the mountain there, trying to get some speed onto the bike and onto the computer. And yeah, all of a sudden there were just goats everywhere. It was super fun. I was really happy that I was actually able to catch everything on the GoPro, because I just bought a new one and I'm still not quite familiar with a couple of the settings, and I also don't know how long the battery lasts. The battery actually also craps out on me at the end of the ride, so I'm missing the last, I want to say, 30-40 kilometers, which isn't really too bad, because there was just the route back into Valencia. There was nothing crazy happening there anymore, but I'm definitely going to buy myself some extra batteries, and then the next time I'm a little better prepared. But I gotta admit, I didn't even expect this to be such a long ride in the first place, but yeah. So this was really one of the moments. You can see it on the elevation profile when we already had actually a lot of miles in our legs. It was roughly 100 right now in total, plus also all the elevation. But now we were kind of getting rewarded a little bit with all these descents here, and they're really pretty fantastic. This was one of those rolly scenarios where it was always just up and down the entire time. And with the red helmet at the front, that's actually Oscar. And I think Francois at this point was just behind me. So it was the 4 of us at the front. And at some point, Oscar and me, we just basically dropped everybody. I think the other ones just took it a bit easier, because that entire thing really dragged out. I had no idea when the final climb was finally in there. Oscar apparently didn't know either. We just kept going. And at some point, yeah, we dropped most of them. But everybody got super strung out here. We started the entire ride, I think, with 60, and at this point we were only 20 left. The others, they took a bit of a shorter route in order to get back to Valencia a little bit sooner. This is, by the way, where you can tell that the grade has trouble just catching up immediately, so it's always lagging behind a little bit. The grade still showing the -7, and as you can see on the picture, that's definitely not true anymore. But yeah. Might also be one of those moments where I actually have to still edit the footage a little bit and be a bit more careful here that I catch everything, because there's quite a bit that you have to do in terms of the editing. But yeah, just take a look at the scenery here. The entire time now on the descents, and even before that, you can just see that even though it's a cloudy day, it's insanely beautiful. It's a little bit... I'm still not quite sure if I'm happy with the GoPro angle at this point, because you can't really see over those edges. But yeah, it's just an absolute stunning area, and that on a sunny day is incredible. I mean, even on the cloudy day, it's absolutely beautiful. And that's one of the best things here in Spain for sure. I mean, you're out in nature the entire time, and there's pretty much no traffic whatsoever. And because you can see, I mean, we will see that later on too, when we're starting to cross between the lanes. You can pretty much, when you're descending like this, you have a pretty good shot at just seeing everything in front of you. So because of all these switchbacks, you have a really good idea, are there cars coming, is anything approaching? And if there's nothing and it's just empty streets, then you can take both lanes and you can really go into those corners a little bit better. But yeah, so right now it's still the three of us, and we're just like trying to get a bit of speed on here. And as I said, you have to add another 30 kilometers onto the distance tab towards the top left. So right now we are 110 into the ride. We ended up with 175. If you want to see the full profile, by the way, of the ride and all the stats and data, I'm going to add the Strava link for that ride into the description of the YouTube video. So you're welcome to check it out there, and also have a look at the rides here in the area. But yeah, this is an absolutely insane route. And the cool thing about doing it this way around is that it's much better on the descents, because as I said before, I've done part of this the other way around, and the problem is all the gravel that you could see on the road earlier really becomes an issue when you're descending that way. But if it's on the climb, then it's not that much of a problem, because you can easily dodge it, and then all of a sudden when you're descending, you just have the tarmac as it is right here, and that's pretty easy to actually deal with. So at this point, as you can see on the elevation profile, it's pretty much mostly downhill from here on out. The others are currently still behind us, but now it's where all the switchbacks start, and you can see that also in terms of speed. We are definitely getting a lot more in there. And this is still like one of these mountain roads, but shortly after that we'll go back onto the normal road for the cars, and that's where you can, of course, on the descent also go a lot faster than this. But yeah, heart rate on this day, I actually think I maxed out on was the first climb when I tried to battle with 4 of the others there, and I topped out at 195. This is one of the things that always was weird for me with cycling, because my heart rate is just always insane. And yeah, it's basically like a hummingbird. Friend of mine, see, there's a cyclist actually coming up. The poor guy has all of that climbing still ahead of him, so he just started. But yeah, my friends always made fun of me and said that I'm like a hummingbird, because my heart just never stops and is about to explode on every single climb. So for me right now, sitting at 141, that's absolutely nothing. That's me just chilling and having a great time here. Now taking this corner a little bit too wide, nearly pushed me out there. And as you can tell here, you don't really want to miss one of the corners when you go into them. There's not really a whole lot that stops you from just going down the side of the mountain at this point. But yeah, now you can of course start to put some power down on the descents, get some solid speed in. And yeah, it was just amazing. I mean, you can imagine, you're just going left, right the entire time, you're just leaning into the corners. It's absolutely beautiful. It's super warm, by the way, so I know it looks cloudy and some might think that it's a bit colder at this point, but I think we actually had like 26, 27 degrees Celsius on that day, so it was a really warm day. It was absolutely amazing, and then on top of that, the clouds actually helped to not make it completely oppressive. So yeah, this is also where the road starts to get a little bit better here. I think we're actually entering, I'm not quite sure if I have footage of that, but we're entering a small village now in a second or two. And yeah, it's just one of these tiny ones where you can go for a stop, you can get a bit of food if you really want to. And yeah, check that out. So, as I said, these guys are mostly people that I didn't know, but I still have a bit of footage also from Jose, who you will see in a lot more of my cycling videos in the future, I can guarantee you that. And Jose, me and Hector, who didn't join us for that ride, we are currently still battling it out on all the climbs. The guy in front of me, that's Pepe, that was the second from the left on the introduction footage that I showed earlier. We were in the shop, that's where we are starting to descend here, and this is exactly with the lanes that I've been talking about. And I think I'm going past a few of the guys in just a second, because I want to catch up with the front again and try and meet up with them. But this is exactly all what I was talking about in the first place, was really just Hector, Jose and me always trying to best each other on those climbs quite a bit. And Jose so far, for the most of the time, he was taking it a little bit easier, not completely brutalizing it just yet. But on the last climb that is coming up, as you can see on the bottom right, there all of a sudden he got super ambitious and he was like, hey, I'm gonna take you guys down now. And that actually became really funny. So that was one moment that I wanted to still include. But yeah, that's where I just put down a little bit more power, try and get past everybody on the descent here. And I think all the way at the front, that's again, I know that at least Francois is there. I think the other one, or one of the others, is Oscar. And yeah, the three of us go straight into the next climb then in just a second, which drags out a little bit. We're coming up on Dos Aguas, which is in that area. And yeah, it's again one of the smaller villages, but pretty beautiful as well. So right now we were 120 kilometers in. Again, we always have to add the plus 30 then on the top. And this descent just doesn't end. It's honestly amazing. And again, you look at the scenery, you always have to be careful because you're just focused. There we have the tuck that we're seeing there to make sure that the wind doesn't hit him that hard. But yeah, at this point it's just absolutely amazing. You have to be careful that you don't all of a sudden get caught or distracted by watching the landscape, the scenery and everything, and focus on the roads here. But yeah, the angle is a little bit different. The camera is underneath my handlebar, so you can actually see a lot farther than what you see in the picture right now. That's why we can easily take both lanes, because we know that there are no cars coming. But yeah, so this was the moment when we're going into the climb again. A little bunny hop here. Almost why even, and that's Jose. So Jose at this point has decided that he's going to start to attempt and drop us on the climb. Because Francois and me, we were at the front and we were taking it easy. We were both saying, dude, like, we had so many climbs today, we're going to take it easy on the last one. I had no ambition whatsoever. That's Francois on the left here. Again, 62 years old. And that was actually really funny, because Jose at the beginning started to escape a little bit, and we were just cheering him on, saying like, you go girl. But yeah, then we caught him again, and he didn't want to be outdone there at all. So now we're going on the climb there. Francois is already all the way at the front. Jose is just cussing at this point. And he's just trying to catch up again. But this is obviously starting to hurt a little bit. I mean, we're putting a little bit of power down. It's nothing insane just yet, but we're sitting the entire time between 300 and 400 watts. And the problem is obviously that with 130 kilometers in the legs at this point, and I think at this point we probably already rode like 2,500 meters of elevation. This hurts, and it really hurts a lot. So you can see my heart rate right now. This is where things started to become a little bit tougher, sitting at 181 now. But I had zero ambitions to go to the front. I was just sitting there and was saying like, okay, I'm gonna follow one of the two of you. I'm not going to start to jump up to the front anytime soon, because there's just absolutely no point for me doing that. But yeah, Jose, he started to go again. He was just like, okay, I'm gonna beat that German guy at least once today and take him down here. And he actually put down some really nice power too. So at this point I was actually starting to struggle a little bit. And I was really thinking about just letting him and our little French guy there to the right go, and decided against it. Francois actually he retired in Spain, so his Spanish is absolutely perfect. But yeah, he's originally from France. And here you can see him again, starting to just like go for it, find his rhythm and keep going. And Jose is just again sitting there. And it's just casting. It's like, oh my god, why did I do this? And he started all of that shit, seriously. Like, I would have just sat there and said like, okay, we're gonna take the last one easy. But no. He wanted to go. And behind me, by the way, I don't have a back camera yet, might add that in the future at some point. Behind me is Oscar. So it was the four of us coming to the climb here to the top. Everybody else from the remaining 20, we dropped already a long time ago on that climb. So we were pretty much alone. On one of the switchbacks that you saw earlier, I actually looked back and I realized that nobody else was there. And I turned to Oscar and was asking him, like, where is everybody? And he was like, I don't know. So this was also a sign that you could see on the right side. That's everywhere in Spain on the climbs, where you know how long the climb still is. Now this is actually, it's at 2 kilometers, but the end of this particular climb is just around the corner. So we all knew that, and yeah, Francois just keeps going there, but once that it levels out a little bit, I'm starting to catch him again. But the funny part comes actually in a second, because now it's the four of us just trying to get to the last little ascent before the climb is completely finished. And that's where Jose just fucks up massively. So this is where I start catching up with Francois again, the other two right behind me in my slipstream, and it levels out. But around the corner, once we get around this corner, just look how this looks. This actually gives you the impression that the climb's over. You see this? This looks like the climb is over right there. The problem is it isn't, and I made that mistake already once and started to sprint for it. And so I knew that there was another turn on the right that you can only see when you're up at the top. And for some reason he screwed up and he just keeps going. So we see Jose just sprinting and I tell him at this point, dude, you're too early. That's not the finish. And then Oscar comes on the left side in just a moment. Yeah, here he goes. And I jump behind him so you can see that I already put some power out now too. Because I want to make sure that Jose doesn't get too far away from us, but Jose is just collapsing at this point. So he goes around the corner, he sees that the climb still keeps going, and he's just like, oh my god, what did I do? So he just burned all his matches to get away from us. I get a free ride because Oscar decides to catch him. Jose is just shaking his head. He was completely gone after this, and I was just riding with Oscar and was saying like, okay, this thing is mine. I've been completely suffering through all of that. Look at my heart rate at this point, sitting at 187. And keep the power actually keep an eye on the power, because that's what's going to happen in just a moment. We're going to around the corner, and there's the real last climb that comes just in a second. And Oscar is completely willing to sprint for that, but I'm already sitting here and I'm saying like, okay, I can still go for this. So there's the that's the end, and this is me just saying, nope, I'm gonna take that one. So go up to 1,000 watts for just a second and sprint up that thing. There was a group that, yeah, they were waiting, nothing to do with us. But yeah, that was pretty much the last climb of the day at this point actually. And from here on out it was just downhill, chilling a little bit, and then a couple of additional kilometers down into Valencia. So again, distance shows 100 kilometers, but 30 are missing, and must have screwed something up there. So it's 130 at this point, so we have another 40 kilometers until we're back in Valencia. And yeah, it's mostly downhill from here on out. There's a couple of rolly segments, but this was just absolutely amazing because it's a really nice descent, and there was 0 cars. So you could just take both lanes if you had a good vision of a good view of everything that was happening. And it was pretty much the reward for the entire ride that we've did so far. Jose is actually not with us anymore, so this is just Oscar, Francois, and me. And Jose, he just he collapsed there at the end and got kind of punished for that early sprint that he did. But the thing with him is, he is insanely strong when it comes to mental strength. It's honestly crazy. When I'm already sitting there totally willing to just take it a bit easy, then he all of a sudden just keeps going and says like, nope, I'm gonna murder myself now a little bit and I'm gonna suffer. And that's the only thing sometimes that motivates me, because I'm just sitting there, I'm competitive, I'm just sitting there and saying like, no dude, you're not gonna get me today. So the second that we're ending up in that little tug of war, it's always a lot of fun. Usually it's, as I said before, with Hector as well, and there's a couple of others that are involved there too. But yeah, that's what we had there. And well, we are all gonna go to the Alpe d'Huez actually soon. We're gonna ride more mod at the beginning of July, which is gonna be a lot of fun too. But yeah, this is just a bit of an idea. Now, the video is too long. I'm completely aware of that. I didn't really know what to cut out because we were riding for multiple hours. But in the future, I'm going to try to limit it a little bit more. And I would be really interested what you guys would like to see the most. Descents? Or do you want me to cut the videos in multiple segments? Do you want me to just show you more descents? Do you want to see more climbs? What would be a focus of what you would be interested in? There's still a bit of test footage for me. I'm trying to improve on the picture and other things as well. But yeah, this was just to give you a short introduction to riding in Spain here. And for the future, I'm going to improve on a few of the things then, and try and also like use the feedback that I hopefully get in the comment section to yeah, prepare those videos, make them a little bit better. There's a couple of other things I want to do as well. Some Strava runs where I try and get a new personal record, or maybe even a KOM, and also a few shorter routes where I just like show the routes completely, link them on Strava too, just to give people that maybe visit Spain a bit of an idea where they could ride and what the most popular routes here in the area are. But yeah, if you liked the video and if you enjoyed it so far, make sure that you give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comment section what you think about it. I hope that there was at least a few of you that stuck around for the entire, what is it now, 25 minutes or so. Again, I apologize for the length. I know that it's a bit too long. I hope that in the future the maximum will be 20 minutes and most of the videos between 10 and 15. But for the first one here, I at least wanted to go over a couple of things. I'm definitely going to also introduce some of the guys to you a little bit more in detail that I ride with on a regular basis in our group rides here. But yeah, that is it. That's a little bit of an introduction to Valencia, to cycling over here. And if you have any questions about myself, about here, just let me know. And I'm going to make sure to answer them in the next video if I can. Thank you very much for tuning in, guys. Hope you had some fun, as I said. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions or advice, feel free to use the comment section. And I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. Bye-bye.